Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about discourse competence. So, discourse competence is basically how sentences flow together in a conversation, or how they can be cohesive and understood when people are talking to each other in their own language. So, we use these uh, cohesive devices, is what they're called. Things that make our speech more flow better, or more easily understood when we're talking to other people. So if you think about it, we oftentimes will do things like repeat phrases or words back to people. So if we're using repetition, that might mean that we're bringing something back into a discussion or back into the conversation that was mentioned earlier. So by repeating that, that would be the cue to basically direct the conversation to this new topic. You also might repeat, you might use repetition to let the other speaker know that you acknowledge what they've said, and it's sort of a way that the conversation can move on, or you can avoid one person talking for too long, but still let them take the floor. And let's see, we have reference words. So this is something that not every language has, but most languages have often some form of. And this is things like uh, little words that replace larger strings of words. So, for instance, if you were to say it, um, no one would know what you're saying if it hadn't been mentioned earlier in the discussion. So, if you're talking about a coffee maker, uh, and you're having this long discussion, and then you don't want to say, yeah, the coffee maker wasn't working this morning, or my coffee maker, my coffee maker. You don't want to keep repeating that. So you would just eventually start calling it, right? Because it cuts out a lot of time and a lot of repetition of just the same word. Um, and so that's something that often gets used. We have things like all those pronouns. We have their, like over there. You wouldn't necessarily restate the place that you're talking about every time. And then we have something called taking the floor. So we often have ways of taking the floor. We might use little phrases that are common, that let the other speaker know that you want to talk now. So you might try to add on to what someone else is saying by saying, "Yeah, so speaking of that," or another thing that makes me think of, it's sort of these transitions that let the other speaker know that you're going to talk now. And then we also have something that's called yielding the floor, which is, I think, somehow related to repetition in a way. So this is basically when the other speaker is talking, you want to let them know that they can keep talking and that you're listening to them and you're not getting bored with what they're saying. So you might use repetition and repeat what they're saying. So they might say something. So I went to the drugstore the other day, and you might say, okay, you went to the drugstore, and you want them to keep talking about it. You want to hear the rest of the story. So that's letting the speaker know that they can keep talking. And another thing you can do is just use non-words, just or mm-hmm or something like that, and or nodding. You don't even have to. You can use non-verbal cues as well. And then, so using all of these cohesive devices together, and mastering language devices in combination is basically what makes up fluency. it's necessary to teach your students these skills so that they can speak fluently with other people and feel confident about their speech. Thanks, guys.